Almost everyone, no matter what their background or career, has an interest in fossils and dinosaurs at some time in their life. For some, the interest becomes an occasional hobby hunt for fossils. For others, like Roy Bickell, the search for fossils becomes a passion.
I was born, I lived in the Grand Prairie area all my life. I was born to a farm family in DeBolt a long time ago. And then in about 1941, we had to move to Grand Prairie for better schooling for my older brother and sister. And so we've been in Grand Prairie for most of our life. Farmed for many, many years. Picked a lot of rocks that didn't have a lot of interest in those days. That was more of a chore. I often get kidded about that, as I didn't like to pick rocks, and now that's what I do for a hobby. And I worked for a forest products company for 37 years and retired about 17 years ago. And ever since then I've really got more and more involved in looking for fossils, and after finding a few, it sort of turns you on to find some more and look for more. Then about 8 or 9 years ago, I had a person I worked with who I knew very well, was a paleontologist, came and identified my entire collection, and I give most of it to the Grand Prairie Regional College, and it's used for study there. And then I had all these empty shelves, and that bothered me, so I started collecting seriously again, and now I've got them all filled up, and I've given collections away to the Grand Prairie Museum. Some of my things are in Center 2000, and a fairly large collection in the DeBolt Museum, where is my hometown and where I was born originally. It includes the largest fossil I've ever found. Actually, it was a concretion, and it formed over a large piece of wood. It shows on one end, and it's 16'4" in circumference, and it weighs about 5 tons. So it's very large and quite a nice fossil. Most of what I've collected is of marine variety, and I guess I just got started in that because in traveling on the Smoky River, I found that in a certain number of places where you stop, you'd find broken fossils, just hunks and chunks. So you know there's something somewhere upstream, and I'd go upstream and find nothing, and that bothered me. So I know I'm onto something, but I don't know exactly where it is. One late fall day, it was nice. I decided to go back and have one more look, and the river was low, and that's where they were coming from. And they only exposed at that time when the river was really low, and it was just unbelievable. Fossils all over the place. And the river was eating them up and sending them on downstream, and those pieces was what led me to the discovery. It turned out that they're part of what they call the Bad Heart Sandstone, a massive area. It covers hundreds of square miles. And it's only exposed where the rivers are deep enough to have eroded down to that old lake bed. And the Smoky is one example. The Bad Heart, the river itself, which is called the Bad Heart Sandstone, and then a lot of little tributaries right in that area, like Cut Creek and Tippers Coulee and some of those little wee creeks that also eroded down because of the depth of the Smoky River. So when I first discovered that, of course, it hadn't been really picked over by anybody else, so every time you went there, you come with as much as you wanted to either carry or haul or drag or whatever. So it was quite productive, and it sort of, you know, hey, this is good stuff, and no matter where you went and which creek, you'd find. So then I started exploring other creeks, and the Cut Bank is really good for a lot of things. It's very difficult to get into, but I have a floater boat I can float down, and I've got quads. In the late fall I can work my way around some parts, come down pipelines and whatnot. And then if I find a lot, I'll cache it. And more recently, I used to just try and remember where I cached it and then go back in the winter with a snowmobile and haul it out on a skimmer. But I use a GPS now. I can just cache it and take my GPS and go back and find it and haul it out. The Kakwa River has fossils in it. The Simonet has a lot of, not so much marine life, but petrified wood. Cutbank River has got marine life and wood. And the wood there tends to be black, so once you know what you're looking for, it's easier to find. The Peace River, I mentioned the Simonet, I guess. Actually, any river that, the Little Smoky, any river that any depth to it at all, has got some fossils in it. You just have to find the right little sites. The Wapiti is more known for dinosaurs, and I've sort of tend to collect the marine life because you can collect them and you can keep them or give them away. You can't sell them, but you can donate them and people can enjoy them. Where dinosaurs fall into a different kind of a category, and I sort of feel it's best to, I've got a few little rocks and samples and whatnot, but I think it's best left to the specialist from the you know, Tyrrell Museum or wherever in the world they want to come from. What's the use of me collecting dinosaurs and putting on my shelves when I have somebody else do that? So it's been marine life primarily, and petrified wood. I've got some good sized pieces of that.
And every fossil has a story.
So this is a woolly mammoth tooth. They had 4 teeth, as I understand it, 2 in the bottom, 2 in the top. So this would have to be either a bottom left or a top right tooth. Woolly mammoth, not that old, not old like the fossils you see around here, of course. This was wood at one time, along here. And then these little worms have eaten holes in the wood. And then after the holes were vacated, the sandstone is filled in and it became harder than the wood. And then it eroded and left what we actually have as petrified wormholes. Wow. That's out of Cut Creek, which is a tributary of the Bad Heart. It was late in the fall in the Poswaska River, and I found a nice little sandstone full of little clamshells. And I wanted to dig it out so it wouldn't freeze in, because it was too big to carry. I wanted to kind of come back someday and get it. And I was down on my hands and knees digging it out, and I looked to one side while I was resting, and under a great big log pile, I could see something that had a round shape, an unusual shape. So I investigated, and in underneath that log pile was this great big concretion sitting there. So I went out and I come back in with a power saw, and I power sawed that log pile apart and found this thing. I went to a neighbor who lived a few miles away who had a D6 cat, and he loaned it and his operator to go down and retrieve it and haul it out, and then Swanberg Trucking Company hauled it to Grand Prairie for us, and I stored it here for a long time, and then decided to donate it back to DeBolt because it came from about 12, 15 miles north of DeBolt, out of the Poswaska River. And then another oil company volunteered to haul it out to DeBolt and push it into a building with a big hydraulic arm and get it in display. Because otherwise, you know, you couldn't even move it or wiggle it or anything. You know, 5 tons. It was big. Yeah. I'm not sure of the age of this particular little fish, but there's the tail part here. The head's over here. The fins, top and bottom. A little bit of erosion has occurred, so good thing I picked it up before it gets completely lost to mankind forever. Just one more sample. They're out there.
So where did you find it?
And that's the secret. This is a leaf, a large leaf, probably poplar leaf. It was in this little rock, but you knew there was vegetation within these, so you open them up, and I got lucky and found that beautiful leaf inside of this bit of volcanic ash. That's what this white color is around the leaf. So this is a good sample of some of the things you'll find in the Bad Heart Formation. This particular one came out of the Smoky River. It just shows an unbelievable concentration of little marine animals, one on top of another on top of another. Beautiful sample. This is a good example, exceptionally good example of dinosaur bone. See the linear structure? It's clean. I picked it up just like that. Didn't have to take any of the rock off or anything at all. And I found it along the edge of the water, about a foot from the water's edge on the Wapiti River, upstream quite a few miles from the bridge in Grand Prairie.